I'd been bullied so badly, I wanted to stand up for people. Like I wanted to confront bullies. It's sort of, and actually it's been a true line in my journalism career too. You experienced this too, not with bullies per se, but just tough guys everywhere around you. And you were never like the big, meaty, muscly dude. You had to find another way of protecting yourself. And it's directly related to what you do today. So talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The neighborhood that I grew up in was the most dangerous part of Youngstown. So there's houses being arsoned, people being shot. I thought every city in America, there was always a police siren that you could hear from wherever you were. That's just what was normal to me. And so it was very dangerous and it was all very real. And I mean, bullying isn't even the word that was going on in my neighborhood. It was just straight up like thuggery, I guess we could call it. Like it was just, you shouldn't make eye contact with anybody. That's not a lot of fear, a lot of danger. And my whole way of handling that is if anybody ever tried anything with me, I would just make fun of them from the youngest, from as far back as I can remember. You know, one of the famous little stories that I always tell is that I got beat up on my first bus ride to my first day of school. I made fun of who ended up being and still is one of my good friends. I made fun of him because his grandma walked him out to the bus stop, and like he's standing there with his grandma as the bus pulls up. And I go, I can't remember exactly what I said, but basically something like, "Oh, you had to have your grandma stand out there with you." And he punched me right in the face. So when I arrived to school, the first thing I had to do was rinse blood out of my mouth in a little tiny water fountain. Anyway, it's just...
Are we both on his side in this story? So far, I'm on his side.
Yeah, I deserve it. I didn't know at the time that, that's what could happen. I hadn't really gotten punched in the face that much at that point.
Street justice.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I mean, that's just carried on. And then I hated all my teachers all throughout school too. I always felt like they had something against me. They could bully me more because I didn't have like a dad to complain or to go to the parent-teacher meetings. So I felt like they were my bullies, the teachers. And the teachers were telling me making fun of people's never going to get you anywhere. And I mean, it's just, the story's just wild to think that I use that as fuel to literally make my entire life exactly that. My show, Kill Tony, I make fun of people. I've written for the last, 10 Comedy Central roasts. I've been on a bunch of roasts, just did more roasts recently. The roast of Bert Kreischer. Yeah, I literally make fun of people for a living. So
like, how does it come to you? And maybe that's a weird question, but I would always love to be more clever in my takedowns of people. And, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Just the way I talk about somebody privately. I'm not talking about on the air, just like when you dislike somebody. I feel like it's a gift that you either have or you don't have, but am I wrong? Was it something you developed from that moment on the school bus forward, and therefore it's a skill any of us can have?
I think it's a little bit of both. You find out, I mean, yeah, there's a natural skill for it, but I definitely had it evolved and tailored. I was lucky enough to have a great mentorship under Jeff Ross, the roast master general, a decade and a half ago. I went on the road with him and I told him, if you ever need help writing jokes or anything, I specialize in making fun of people. He's like, "What's your email? Let's go." And the rest is history. And he taught me how to do it a little bit sweeter. You know what I mean? Instead of just going straight in on something, the first thing that you see, you can, hit them in the ribs a little bit or make fun of something that they don't see coming. He taught me how to craft it a little bit more into like a martial art rather than just being very blunt about the first thing that you notice about somebody. It's definitely an art form, but just like anything, you find out like, yeah, Tiger Woods was a great golfer when he was 10, but he also practices all the time. So I do that all the time. Even when I don't say what I'm thinking about somebody, like making fun of somebody, if I don't say it out loud, I'm still thinking it. And I can use it at a later time on somebody
You must be
else.
terrifying to spend time with at a party. This is like, I'm having the same feeling as I had when I interviewed the radical honesty guy who came up with this whole program where you have to say whatever you're thinking and you can't have any filter. The whole time I was like, oh my God, he's going to lay it on me any second. You must be a terrifying party guest.
Nah, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty mellow. If I'm around strangers, I know how to, how to hide it a little bit. But if I'm around my crew here in Austin, like last night, we were out at a bar with a big round table and it was just all my friends that know me so well, then I can really amp it up and just be direct. Wow, you look like crap today. I mean, just no humor to it whatsoever. And everybody laughs. You know what I mean? Just being blunt and ridiculously.
Do you know my mom? It's weird. I've been through this before. This sounds familiar. One of our sponsors today is Donors Trust, the principled, tax-friendly way to simplify your charitable giving. Cancel culture doesn't just affect comedians and commentators anymore. It also affects everyday hardworking Americans. How? Well, it derails their charitable giving, believe it or not. Take Jeannie's story, for example. Jeannie did her charitable giving through one of these big national donor-advised fund providers. That is, until, without a clear reason, it refused to send her money, her charitable dollars, to a conservative nonprofit. Can you imagine how mad you'd be? She writes in, I'm a conservative. I believe America's great despite her imperfections, and that capitalism brings great good to society rather than government. Earlier this year, I requested another gift from my donor-advised fund, and it was rejected. Jeannie wanted a donor-advised fund that shares her conservative principles, and she found it in Donors Trust, the oldest and largest donor-advised fund committed to limited government. Do you want a principal partner helping you support causes close to your heart? If so, consider opening a donor-advised fund with Donors Trust. For more info on how Donors Trust can help, visit donorstrust.org/MK, DONORS trust.org/MK to receive a free copy of their donor prospectus, donorstrust.org/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.